For this assignment, we are going to be looking at how to predict the various shapes of molecules. And previously, you have learned how to do the Lewis dot structures. We're going to revisit that. So let's take a look at beryllium hydride here, BeH2. And what we're going to need to do is we're going to have to use our periodic table. So beryllium is in the second family, so it will have 2 valence electrons, and we know hydrogen has 1 valence electron. So as we go back and predicting the number of electrons that each molecule has, I know that beryllium has 2 electrons, each hydrogen has 1 electron, and there's 2 of them. So in total, I have 4 electrons that I'm working with. I'm going to put beryllium in the middle. And beryllium is one of our exceptions to the octet rule. So beryllium is content with 4 electrons. So remember, the rules are we put a pair of electrons between each central atom and the peripheral atoms. And then any extras would then go to fill the octets of the peripheral atoms. But in this case, we only have 4 electrons that we are working with. So in this particular scenario, we have 2 bonding pairs on the central atom, and there are no lone pairs. I'm going to take a look at this simulation, which I have linked as well. And what I'd like you to do is initially have these boxes unlinked. So this is our Phet simulation, and this is our central atom beryllium. We're going to put down 1 bonding pair and another bonding pair. There's both single bonds. And so this is called a bonding region, and this is a bonding region. There are no lone pairs on the central atom. When I go to my handout, I'm going to see this handout here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to look for the domains, okay? And these domains, which are also referred to as steric regions, I will take a look at something that best matches this molecule. And in this case, it would be right here. Here I have a central atom, letter A, with 2 single bonds, X and X on either side. So there's 2 bonding atoms, 0 lone pairs. And what we would say is this particular molecule wants to be linear. And in fact, it is linear, okay? So when I go back to take a look here, I will see that the electron geometry is linear and the actual molecular geometry is also linear, okay? Now, let's go back to our worksheet for a moment and let's see what's happening here. So when I take a look, in fact, we've got the 2 bonding pairs, 0 lone pairs. The electron geometry was linear, and we say that the molecular geometry is linear. When we are looking to define whether the molecule itself is polar, what we need to do is look at the type of bonds within and look at the distribution of charge. So on the periodic table that I have linked for you, we've got difference in electronegativities is 1.5 for beryllium, and hydrogen is 2.1. So what we do is we always do largest value minus the smallest value, and this is 0.6. So that means that the bonds within beryllium hydride, they're actually polar. So what happens is the electrons like to spend their time closer towards the hydrogen, but there's an even distribution of charge within the molecule itself. So we would say that even though the bonds are polar, the overall molecule is nonpolar because there is an even distribution of charge. So this is considered to be a non-polar molecule. Those vector arrows would cancel out. So when we take a look at boron hydride, boron has 3 valence electrons. Each hydrogen has 1. So we've got 3, and then we have 1 electron times 3. So we have 6 electrons that we are working with. So 3 electrons, 1 times 3, 6 electrons. I'm going to put boron in the middle, and I will have hydrogens spaced out in and around symmetrically situated because molecules like to be symmetrical. I put my first bonding pair between each central and peripheral. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I don't have any left over. Remember, boron is one of our exceptions. It is content with 6 electrons. Doesn't need to fulfill the octet. So when I take a look, I have 3 bonding regions. There are 0 lone pairs. So when I go to my handout, I take a look. Well, here is this scenario here. I have 1 central atom, 3 bonded pairs, 0 lone pairs. It's telling me that the molecular shape and the electron geometry is trigonal planar. So in the column that is here, that's the electron geometry. We're going to put down trigonal planar. And we're going to also copy this here, trigonal planar. I want to go back to my molecule and I want to see, do I have that drawn as it should be? Okay, so you can use this as a guide to help you. So I'm going to remove all of that. There's my central atom. I have 3 single links, and I notice here trigonal planar electron geometry. The actual geometry remains as that. And if I want to show the bond angles, there would be about 120 degrees between each. So this geometry gives the best minimal repulsion between the atoms. So this would be the geometry. And no matter which way we turn it, you can see that it looks as if it is a triangle in one plane, right? So it's one plane in space, okay? When we're talking about 3D molecules. When we are looking to see whether or not the hybridization, this is something you don't need to worry too much about right now. We're going to get into this next week, but this would be the hybridization, which is referred to as sp2 hybridization. So I'm going to put in this box here, this is sp2. It'll make a bit more sense, like I said, next week. When I'm looking at the polarity of my molecule, again, I want to go back and I want to take a look at my periodic table. I see that boron is 2, hydrogen is 2.1. When I subtract those two, what I would find is that each of these would be a non-polar bond. Non-polar bonds between each atom always results in a non-polar molecule. I can also see that because it's a symmetrical molecule, so there's no pull in either direction and there's symmetry there. So overall, the molecule is non-polar. Let's do another one. Let's do sulfur dioxide. Now, in sulfur dioxide, going back to our periodic table, we're going to see that sulfur and oxygen, they both have 6 electrons available. That means in total, I have 18 electrons available in order to create this molecule. So for right now, I'm going to put down sulfur. I'm going to flank it with each oxygen. I'm going to put a bonding pair between each sulfur and oxygen, and then I go around and I fill the periphery. Okay, so I have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16. What do I do with my extra? I put them on the center always. Now, in this case, I've used up my 18 electrons. I notice that each oxygen has fulfilled their octet, but sulfur has not. It is not one of our exceptions. So what must I do in order to make this molecule content? I must double up one of the pairs. So I'll remove this side and I'll create a double bond. Now, could I have done that on the opposite side? Absolutely. That's what we call resonance, when a double bond can basically happen on either side. So I'm going to show both scenarios right now. where the double bond could be on this side with the central atom having the one lone pair, okay? So this is an example of resonance. What I want to do is I want to count up my bonding regions. You always count a double bond as one bonding site. So this is a bonding site, this is a bonding site. So there are two bonding sites to the central atom, and there's one lone pair. So what is the geometry of this particular molecule? So let's go to our simulation. I'm going to remove all of that. And let's take a look. I'm going to put in a double bond. I'm going to put a single bond in. And I'm also going to put the lone pair on top. The electron geometry is what it wants to be. So just like the boron tetrahedride previously seen, it wants to be a trigonal planar. But the lone pair is repelling the bonded pair of electrons in this atom, causing it to become a different shape. So the actual geometry ends up being a bent shape, okay, because of this lone pair on the top. So I noticed that the way that I've got my molecule drawn is not accurately depicted. What I must do is I must go back and fix my drawing, okay? So what I can do is I can fix my drawing over here if I don't have space. So it would be more accurate for me to draw the molecule such that it is showing that bent shaped geometry. So it wants to be a trigonal planar. However, because of that lone pair, it ends up having a bent geometry. Now, what ends up happening in this scenario in terms of its polarity, because of this lone pair here, it doesn't matter whether these are nonpolar or polar. This lone pair is causing an uneven distribution of charge, okay? There isn't necessarily the symmetry that we had up here, okay? So whenever you have a single lone pair, automatically it's going to be a polar molecule. I want to bring one more thing to your attention. So let's take a look at a scenario where we could have, let's say, 4 bonded pairs, okay? And there is the shape that we would be used to in the organic unit, the tetrahedron shape or the tetrahedral shape, okay, 109.5 degrees. Okay, so it's not, flat where they're all 90 degrees apart. This gives the optimal geometry. If I put 2 lone pairs, take a look at this geometry, okay? And this gives you this sort of X pattern. What happens here is because we have a lone pair on top and a lone pair on the bottom, we would say that this has an even distribution on the top and bottom, as well as in all directions. So just because you have lone pairs doesn't automatically make it polar. You have to take a look at where those lone pairs are distributed and if there is an even distribution of charge. So in this particular scenario, you would have a non-polar molecule. So let's take a look on our handout where that would occur. So when I look at the domains and I take a look at what also is referred to as the steric region, I want to find something where I have 4 bonded regions and 2 lone pairs. So that would occur right here. So here you would have 4 bonded regions, you would have 2 lone pairs. It wants to be what's referred to as an octahedral, but it ends up being a square planar. And in this scenario, you would have a non-polar molecule, okay? Whereas up here, you would have a polar molecule because there's only 1 lone pair and there would not be an even distribution of charge, okay? In this scenario, the lone pairs are distributed evenly, and so it would be a non-polar molecule. Up here, where you have the lone pairs both situated towards the top of the molecule, okay, that is not an even distribution. You have a greater dipole moment towards the top region, okay? And so when you take a look at this shape that we've created, it does look like a square in one plane, hence why it's called a square planar. Okay, so hopefully that gives you a good start. If you can complete the rest of the handout and make sure that the molecule is drawn properly and you've completed the rest here. And in terms of the hybridization, you can just copy that out. So for sulfur dioxide, so here we go, 2 bonding regions, 1 lone pair, wants to be trigonal planar, ends up being bent. It is sp2 hybridized. So we would also write that in our box. Okay, there's where I put it, sp2 hybridized, and then that one is complete.